Chosen one. Did you walk away from something everyone said you should have fought for? Did you let go when the whole world screamed you were a quitter? Did you say no when saying yes would have been easier, safer, more acceptable? Listen to me right now. At this exact moment, heaven is standing in ovation for a decision you thought destroyed you. Chosen one. Heaven saw what you did. And heaven said, you did the right thing. I don't care what your children whispered behind closed doors. I don't care what that church said when you walked out those double doors for the last time. I don't care if your own mind has been torturing you at 3 a.m., replaying that moment over and over, wondering if you made the biggest mistake of your life. Your name was spoken in the courts of light, not in judgment, in celebration, because what looked like retreat to human eyes was recognized as obedience in the realm of the eternal. Your choice, that trembling, terrifying choice, sent ripples through dimensions you cannot see. But oh, beloved, I know what you've been carrying. You wondered if you should have stayed in that marriage one more year. You wondered if walking away from that business made you a coward. You wondered if leaving that friendship meant you failed at love. You wondered if setting that boundary made you selfish, cold, unforgiving. The enemy has been whispering one word on repeat: quitter, quitter, quitter. But God says the very choice that made you tremble is the one that saved your life. Before we go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let that seed of faith be planted. Now here's what I need you to understand. There's a reason the attack grew stronger the moment you obeyed. There's a reason hell unleashed fury right after you made that choice. There's a reason peace didn't come immediately, chaos did. Stay with me. You're about to understand why warfare followed obedience and why that's actually your confirmation. Before we go deeper, type Amen in the comments if you can already feel God touching something inside you. This is your agreement with heaven, because what I'm about to show you will shatter every lie guilt has been whispering, and you'll finally see what God saw all along. Why did the storm hit harder after you finally did what God told you to do? Why did the phone calls stop right when you started following His voice? Why did your health fail, your money dry up, your relationships fracture the moment you chose obedience over comfort? Chosen one, the moment you did the right thing, darkness panicked. You've lived long enough to know that doing the right thing doesn't always lead to peace at first. You know that sometimes the hardest battles come right after the bravest decisions. You walked away from that toxic relationship, and suddenly you've never felt more alone. You left that church, and now even your own family questions your faith. You set that boundary, and the backlash was so vicious you wondered if you'd made a catastrophic mistake. But listen to me carefully. What you experienced wasn't punishment, it was confirmation. Think about it like this. When a massive ship, one of those 900-foot cargo vessels crossing the Atlantic, when that ship changes course, what happens? The waves don't suddenly calm down. No, they strike harder. The resistance intensifies. The entire ocean seems to rebel against the new direction. Why? Because something that powerful, something carrying that much weight, something moving with that much purpose, when it shifts, everything around it has to adjust. You are that ship. And the moment you turned toward your destiny, hell itself had to reorganize. Something happened in the spiritual realm the moment you obeyed, and you need to hear it. When you made that choice, when you said no to what everyone expected and yes to what God whispered, alarm bells went off in places you cannot see. Demonic strategies had to be rewritten. Principalities that had been assigned to keep you stuck suddenly lost their jurisdiction. Ephesians 6:12 tells us plainly, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." That word wrestle in the original Greek, means hand-to-hand combat. Close quarters, personal, brutal. This isn't some distant theological concept. This is your life right now. You thought you were just leaving a job. But in the spirit realm, you were breaking a generational assignment. You thought you were just ending a friendship. But heaven saw you severing a covenant with compromise. You thought you were just moving to a smaller apartment. But God watched you choosing His presence over worldly provision. And hell responded accordingly. Here's the spiritual law they don't teach in Sunday school. Hell attacked because heaven approved. Let me say that again so it sinks deep into your bones. Hell attacked because heaven approved. The resistance you're facing isn't evidence that you missed God. It's evidence that you found Him. The warfare isn't proof you made the wrong choice. It's proof you made the choice that threatens the kingdom of darkness. Look at what happened to the Israelites. They finally left Egypt after 400 years of slavery. God performed miracle after miracle, the plagues, the Passover, the Exodus. They walked out free. But what happened next? Exodus 14:5 says, "And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people." The moment they left, Pharaoh changed his mind. He mobilized his entire army. 600 chariots chased them down. Why? Because their obedience triggered a territorial response. Slavery had been profitable for Egypt. Their freedom threatened an entire economy built on their bondage. Your obedience threatened something too. Maybe it threatened the family dynamic that required you to stay small. Maybe it threatened the religious system that needed you to stay silent. Maybe it threatened the financial structure that demanded you compromise your integrity. And when you walked away, the system struck back. But here's what you need to understand about spiritual warfare. The intensity of the attack reveals the value of what you're carrying. Lions don't chase rabbits with the same fury they chase gazelles. Why? Because a rabbit is a snack, a gazelle is a feast. Hell doesn't waste high-level warfare on people who pose no threat. You've been under assault because you're dangerous to the darkness. Think about Job. Blameless, upright, feared God, shunned evil. And what happened? Everything was taken from him, his wealth, his health, his children, his reputation. But here's what most people miss. Job 1-8 shows us that God himself pointed Job out to Satan. "Have you considered my servant Job?" God bragged on him. And the moment heaven highlighted him, hell targeted him. Your righteous choice put a spotlight on you in the courts of glory, and the enemy saw it. This is why you felt so tired lately. This is why you wake up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep. This is why you've had more anxiety in the last 6 months than the previous 6 years. This is why relationships that survived decades suddenly shattered. Spiritual warfare doesn't just affect your spirit, it affects your body, your mind, your emotions, your finances, your health. You're not losing your mind, you're winning a war. But the attack had an expiration date. And, beloved, that date just arrived. Put, "I receive this," if this explains the strange battles you've been facing lately. Because what I'm about to show you next will prove that every single attack you endured wasn't just warfare. It was preparation for the flood of favor that's about to break loose over your life. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's chosen ones torture themselves over decisions that heaven already celebrated. For months, maybe years, you've been replaying that moment in your mind like a broken record. Should I have stayed? Should I have tried harder? Should I have given them one more chance? And every time you replay it, the guilt gets heavier, the doubt gets louder, and the enemy whispers that same poison. You failed. You quit. You're weak. But chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to shatter that lie right now. The moment you made that choice, the moment you walked away, the moment you said no, the moment you set that boundary, something shifted in the heavenlies. Not shifted like a minor adjustment, shifted like tectonic plates moving beneath the surface of your life. Angels were dispatched. Demonic assignments were cancelled. Your future was literally rerouted. You think you were just making a human decision. No, beloved. You were activating divine movement. Listen to what Scripture tells us in Proverbs 16:9. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. You thought you were just walking away from toxicity. God was directing you toward destiny. You thought you were just protecting your peace. Heaven was positioning you for purpose. But here's what nobody told you about doing the right thing. It doesn't feel right immediately. In fact, it feels like everything is falling apart. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his father's house, leave his family, leave everything familiar, and go to a land he'd never seen. Genesis 12:1 says, "Get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you." Abraham obeyed. And you know what happened next? Famine. The very land God sent him to was struck by famine. Can you imagine the doubt? God, did I hear you wrong? Everything's worse now than before I obeyed. But that famine was positioning him for Egypt. Egypt was positioning him for wealth. Wealth was positioning him for the promise. The chaos after obedience wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You did the right thing, and hell attacked harder. Why? Because your obedience just ruined the enemy's entire plan for your destruction. That relationship you walked away from. It was designed to drain every ounce of life from you until there was nothing left. That job you quit. It was slowly poisoning your purpose. That church you left. It was suffocating the very calling God placed on your life. But the moment you obeyed, the moment you chose God's voice over guilt, over obligation, over what people thought, you stepped out of the enemy's jurisdiction and into divine protection. Now, listen carefully, because this is where it gets supernatural. God's favor is like the morning sun. It rises slow, but when it breaks wide. You don't see it at midnight. You don't feel it at 3 a.m. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not coming. Right now, in the invisible realm, favor is gathering over your life like storm clouds heavy with rain. Doors you didn't knock on are about to swing open. People you've never met are about to speak your name in rooms of influence. Opportunities you stopped praying for are being prepared for your arrival. Your obedience shifted timelines. Heaven rerouted your future. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. You're not behind schedule. You're not late. You didn't miss your window. You are standing in God's exact timing, right where He needs you, precisely when He needs you there. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time, not early, not late, in its time." That thing you walked away from 3 years ago, if you had stayed, you would have missed what's coming 3 months from now. That door that closed last year, if it had stayed open, you wouldn't have been available for the door that's about to open next week. God's timing isn't early, and it's never late. It's always exactly perfect. But I need you to understand something that most believers miss. Favor doesn't always look like favor at first. Sometimes favor looks like loss. Sometimes favor looks like isolation. Sometimes favor looks like everything falling apart so God can rebuild it the right way. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before God said, "Now you're ready." Joseph sat in prison for years before Pharaoh called his name. David ran through caves while carrying the anointing of a king. From the outside, it looked like abandonment. From heaven's perspective, it was activation. You thought you lost when you walked away. God says you won before the battle even started. Let this sink in, beloved. Not just in your mind, in your spirit. In that deep place where doubt has been screaming and guilt has been clawing. Let this truth settle there like oil poured on troubled waters. You did the right thing. Heaven is moving. Favor is gathering. And what's coming next will make everything you released look like pocket change compared to the inheritance God's been protecting for you. Chosen one, if this speaks to your soul, hit that like button right now. Not for me, for the person who's going to see this video next. The one who's drowning in guilt over a decision they made 6 months ago. The one who needs to hear that their obedience wasn't failure, it was faith. Because what I'm about to show you next will explain exactly why the enemy attacked so viciously right after you obeyed. and why that warfare is actually your receipt that heaven accepted your sacrifice. You lost people when you made that choice, didn't you? Not strangers, not acquaintances. You lost family members who looked at you like you'd betrayed the bloodline. You lost friends who swore they'd stand by you, but vanished the moment you stopped living the lie they needed you to maintain. You lost the respect of people whose approval once meant everything to you. You lost opportunities. That promotion you walked away from because the compromise it required would have cost you your soul. That business deal that could have set you up financially but demanded you partner with darkness. That relationship that promised comfort but would have buried your calling 6 feet deep. You silenced yourself in rooms where speaking up would have saved you years of regret. You bit your tongue at Thanksgiving dinners while relatives praised the very people who had destroyed you. You sat in church pews, smiling through sermons that condemned the very freedom God had given you the courage to choose. And you walked away. You walked away when staying would have destroyed you. When everyone, and I mean everyone, told you that you were making the biggest mistake of your life. Dear chosen one, I need you to hear something that's going to shatter the prison of regret you've been living in for years, maybe decades. Are you listening? Because God just whispered this to my spirit for you. Nothing you gave up will return empty. Isaiah 55:11 says it plainly. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. Every sacrifice you made in obedience, every person you released, every opportunity you declined, every dollar you lost walking in integrity, none of it was wasted. None of it disappeared into a void. It was planted as seed in the soil of eternity. And beloved, harvest season is here. But here's what's going to wreck you in the best possible way. What you thought was loss was actually protection. Think about it. Really think about it. That marriage you stayed in for 37 years, when you finally found the strength to leave, what happened? They remarried within 6 months. 6 months. And you felt like a fool, didn't you? Like you'd wasted 4 decades on someone who replaced you faster than changing seasons. But what if I told you that God allowed you to see that, to witness their true character finally revealed, so you'd never second-guess your decision again? What if that pain was actually closure, wrapped in confirmation? That business partnership you walked away from, the one where they called you paranoid, overly spiritual, too cautious. 3 years later, they were indicted for fraud. 3 years later, their names were in the paper, their assets frozen, their reputations destroyed. And you were nowhere near the wreckage. You think that was coincidence? You think your obedience just happened to save you from legal destruction, financial ruin, and public humiliation? God blocked something you didn't see. Proverbs 16:9 declares, A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. You thought you were losing, but heaven was redirecting. You thought you were falling behind, but God was pulling you out of the line of fire. You thought you were being punished, but you were being positioned. Let me tell you about Mrs. Eleanor from Brooklyn, 83 years old. She wrote me last month, tears staining the paper. For 40 years, she carried guilt about leaving her mother's house when she was 24. 40 years. Her siblings called her selfish, ungrateful, a disgrace to the family. They painted her as the villain who abandoned their suffering mother. But what they never told anyone, what she finally had the courage to say, was that staying in that house one more day would have meant enduring one more night of her stepfather's abuse. Leaving wasn't selfishness. Leaving was survival. And God honored that choice by giving her a life, a family, a legacy that her siblings who stayed and enabled evil never built. The price you paid was seen. Every tear that fell when you made that impossible choice, God collected. Psalm 56:8 says, Thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears in thy bottle. Are they not in thy book? Your grief is not forgotten. Your sacrifice is not invisible. Your obedience is not unnoticed. But you need to understand something that's going to transform how you see every closed door, every lost relationship, every missed opportunity. God wasn't just protecting you from what you could see. He was protecting you from what you couldn't see. The affair that would have happened 3 years later, the disease that would have transferred, the spiritual contamination that would have infected your children, the financial collapse that would have taken you down with it. You didn't lose, you escaped. And now, right now, the favor you thought you'd forfeited by walking away, it's been following you, hunting you down, waiting for this exact moment when you're finally ready to receive it, without the guilt that's been blocking it. But there's something else you need to know, something about what's happening in the invisible realm right now because of that choice you made. The enemy thought your obedience would isolate you. Instead, it activated something. Now listen to me very carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake the foundation of every doubt you've been carrying. You've been living like favor is something you're waiting for, like it's a package stuck in heaven's mailroom with your name on it, delayed, lost in transit, maybe never coming at all. You've been checking your life like you check a tracking number. Where is it? When will it arrive? Did God forget to ship it? But I need you to stop right there. Stop waiting. Stop begging. Stop acting like favor is somewhere out there in your future, when I'm here to tell you something that's going to change everything. Favor is not coming. Favor is here. It's not on its way. It's not being processed. It's not pending approval from some celestial warehouse. Favor is surrounding you right now, at this exact moment, like an invisible shield that hell itself cannot penetrate. You're surrounded by divine protection, surrounded by supernatural strategy, surrounded by angels who've been assigned specifically to you, not to the person sitting next to you in church, not to your neighbor with the perfect life, but to you. Psalm 5:12 says it plainly, "Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield." Not will surround, not might surround. You surround them. Present tense, active, happening right now. But here's what's been messing with your mind, and I need you to understand this because it explains everything you've been feeling. When God's favor surrounds you, when His shield goes up around your life, something happens that looks like loss but is actually protection. People start leaving. Doors start closing. Opportunities you were counting on suddenly vanish. And you stand there confused, thinking, wait, I thought I did the right thing. I thought obedience brought blessing. So why does my life look like it's falling apart? Because, beloved, God is not gathering people around you. He's positioning favor around you. And there's a massive difference. You see, some people were never meant to walk with you into this next season. They were seasonal relationships dressed up like lifetime commitments. They were temporary assignments, pretending to be permanent positions. And God, in His infinite wisdom, in His perfect timing, had to remove them before their presence poisoned your purpose. Let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. That friend who suddenly got distant, God saw what you didn't see. That family member who turned cold, heaven knew what was brewing in their heart toward you. That business partner who walked away, the Almighty detected the shift in their intentions before it ever manifested in their actions. You felt the disconnect before you saw the betrayal. You sensed something was off before the evidence appeared. That wasn't paranoia, chosen one. That was divine intelligence downloading into your spirit. That was God whispering, I'm about to move them out of position because I'm moving you into promotion. 2 Samuel 22:29 declares, You, Lord, are my lamp. The Lord turns my darkness into light. Every relationship that went dark, God was actually turning on His light to show you what was hidden. Every situation that felt like abandonment, that was God saying, I'm removing the counterfeit so I can release the authentic. But here's where it gets supernatural, and I need you to lean in because this is the part the enemy doesn't want you to hear. The very moment someone exits your life in confusion, God is making room for someone to enter with clarity. The second a toxic relationship dissolves, heaven is already positioning a divine connection. When that door slams shut, favor is already opening a window you didn't even know existed. You thought you lost something. God says you gained protection. You thought you were abandoned. Heaven says you were surrounded. You thought favor left when they left, but baby, favor stayed. They're the ones who departed. And now, right now, at this very moment, there are people being strategically moved toward your life, opportunities being divinely aligned with your obedience, blessings being supernaturally positioned to intersect with your path. Not because you're perfect, but because you were obedient. Not because you did everything right, but because you did the right thing. That decision you made, the one that cost you relationships, the one that emptied your circle, the one that made you look weak to people who were never strong enough to understand your strength. That decision activated something in the spiritual realm that cannot be reversed. When you obey God at the cost of human approval, you don't lose favor, you multiply it. When you choose His will over their comfort, you don't decrease blessing. You unlock dimensions of it you never knew existed. Favor isn't just covering you now. Favor is chasing you down, hunting you, tracking you, following you into every room you enter, every conversation you have, every decision you make. You can't outrun it even if you tried, because God stamped His approval on your obedience, and what God stamps, no man can erase. The warfare you've been experiencing, that's not evidence that favor left. That's proof that favor arrived. Hell only fights what heaven has crowned. Demons only attack what God has anointed. The enemy only wages war against the blessed. So, if life got harder after you obeyed, if attacks intensified after you made the right choice, if everything seemed to fall apart right after you walked away, congratulations. You just got confirmation that you're not in favor's waiting room anymore. You're standing in favor's throne room, surrounded, protected, chosen, crowned, chosen one. If you know deep in your spirit that God just revealed something to you, if something I just said unlocked a truth you've been searching for, comment right now, I claim God's favor. Because what I'm about to show you next will prove why that person who left had to leave for the person who's coming to arrive. You want to know what God has been doing while you've been questioning yourself? While you've been lying awake wondering if you made the wrong call? While guilt has been gnawing at your chest like a beast you can't escape? He's been building. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. Every single time you obeyed when it hurt, every time you held your tongue when you wanted to scream, every time you walked away when staying would have been easier, heaven wasn't just watching. Heaven was recording. Heaven was calculating. Heaven was preparing your reward. You think God forgot? You think He missed it? That moment when you said no to the toxic relationship, even though loneliness terrified you? That day, you quit the job that was destroying your peace even though your bank account was screaming? That Sunday you walked out of that church even though they called you a backslider? Heaven kept the receipts. And I'm not talking about some distant, ethereal bookkeeping. I'm talking about Malachi 3:16. Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in His presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored His name. A scroll with your name, with every act of obedience that cost you something, every sacrifice nobody saw, every moment you chose God's voice over human approval. But here's what's about to shake you to your core. Here's what the enemy has been desperately trying to hide from you. God's favor isn't just around you like some invisible bubble. No, beloved. It's about to break open in front of you. You've been walking through a season where favor was protecting you, keeping attacks at bay, surrounding you like a shield. But protection was only phase 1. What's coming next is promotion. What's coming next is manifestation. What's coming next is the visible, undeniable, earthly evidence that your obedience was not in vain. Think about Joseph, 22 years old when his brothers threw him in that pit, 30 years old when Pharaoh pulled him out of prison and placed him second in command over all of Egypt. 8 years of slavery, false accusations, forgotten promises, and unanswered prayers. But Genesis 41:14 says, "So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon." Quickly. After 8 years of waiting, when God decided it was time, it happened quickly. You've been in your dungeon long enough. And when heaven decides your moment has arrived, things won't slowly improve. They will explode. Doors you never knocked on will swing wide open. Opportunities you never applied for will hunt you down. Favor you didn't earn will chase you through the streets. Because you did the right thing when doing the right thing nearly killed you. But I need you to understand something that will change how you see the next chapter of your life. The reward isn't just financial breakthrough, though that's coming. It isn't just restored relationships, though God is healing those too. It isn't just vindication from people who doubted you, though they will see and they will know. The reward is walking into rooms where everything was already prepared for you. Picture this. You walk into a space, could be a job, could be a relationship, could be a ministry, could be a season, and nothing feels like a battle anymore. The people welcome you. The resources are already there. The provision is waiting. The connections happen naturally. It's like someone went ahead of you and set the table, lit the candles, pulled out your chair, and whispered to everyone in the room, "This one is mine. Treat them accordingly." That's Isaiah 45:2. "I will go before you and will level the mountains. I will break down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron." God doesn't just bless you. He prepares the place before you arrive. He smooths the path before you walk it. He opens the door before you knock. And everyone who sees it will know this isn't luck. This isn't networking. This isn't coincidence. This is divine favor responding to radical obedience. You know why the attack intensified right after you made that choice? Because hell saw what heaven was preparing. The enemy recognized that your obedience triggered something in the spiritual realm that he cannot stop. So he tried to make you reverse it. He tried to drown you in regret, shame, and second-guessing. But you didn't go back. You stayed the course. You kept walking even when your knees buckled. You kept believing even when your mind screamed doubt. And that, beloved, that stubborn, trembling, tear-stained obedience, that's what qualified you for what's coming next. Right now, at this exact moment, angelic forces are moving on your behalf. Proverbs 3-4 promises, "Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man." Not just God, man too. The same people who questioned your decision are about to witness your elevation. The same voices that called you foolish are about to call you blessed. This is your moment. This is your vindication. This is your reward breaking through the surface after years of being buried in the dark. Chosen ones, type 777 as your prophetic declaration. Say it with your whole chest. Lord, I receive the reward of my obedience. Because what you're about to step into won't make sense to people who've never paid the price you paid, but it will make perfect sense to the God who's been keeping score. And the question that will determine everything is this: are you ready to stop apologizing for the choice that saved your life and start celebrating the favor that's about to change it? You know what breaks my heart? It's watching someone who's carried guilt for 30, 40, 50 years, believing they made the wrong choice when God has been trying to tell them the opposite every single day since. You spent years questioning your choices, decades perhaps, lying awake in the dark, replaying that moment when you walked away, when you said no, when you chose yourself over their expectations, when you closed that door everyone said you should have kept open. And tonight, beloved, tonight, heaven answers. You did the right thing. Let me take you back to a moment in Scripture that will shatter every doubt you've been carrying. Genesis chapter 12. Abraham is 75 years old, 75, when God tells him to leave everything. Leave your country. Leave your father's house. Leave everyone who knows your name. Go to a place I'll show you later. Notice what God didn't do. He didn't give Abraham a roadmap. He didn't provide testimonials from previous travelers. He didn't offer a money-back guarantee. He said, "Leave what's familiar and trust me with what's uncertain." And the Bible records something stunning in verse 4. "So Abram went, as the Lord had spoken unto him." That's it. No hesitation, no committee meetings, no waiting for consensus. He went. But here's what they don't tell you in Sunday school. Abraham's family thought he lost his mind. His neighbors probably whispered, "Poor Abraham, senile in his old age." His relatives likely said, "He's abandoning his responsibilities." The very people who should have supported him probably called him selfish, reckless, foolish. Sound familiar? You see, chosen one, obedience to God often looks like disobedience to people. What heaven calls courage, earth calls cowardice. What God calls wisdom, the world calls weakness. And the very moment you choose God's voice over human voices, you step into a battlefield most believers never have the strength to enter. This is why the condemnation felt so heavy. This is why the guilt has been so persistent. This is why you've questioned yourself for so long. Because when you obey God against human opinion, hell mobilizes every weapon it has to make you regret that obedience. But look at what happened to Abraham. That choice, that terrifying, lonely, misunderstood choice, became the foundation of 3 world religions. That decision everyone criticized became the pivot point of human history. That moment of walking away from comfort became the doorway to destiny. Your choice was the same kind of holy defiance. When you walked away from that toxic marriage, you weren't giving up, you were growing up. When you left that church that made you feel small, you weren't being divisive, you were being delivered. When you set that boundary with your own children, you weren't being cruel, you were being clear about who God called you to be. Proverbs 16:9 tells us, "A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps." Do you understand what that means? It means you thought you were just surviving. You thought you were just trying to breathe. You thought you were simply escaping pain. But God was directing every step. He was steering even when you didn't feel his hand on the wheel. That moment you thought was your breakdown was actually his breakthrough. That decision you made through tears was heaven's answer to prayers you didn't even know you'd prayed. Take the weight off your heart right now. Just let it fall. God saw every tear that fell at 3 a.m. when you questioned yourself. He felt every trembling decision you made in secret. He counted every time you chose what was right over what was easy. And beloved, he has never, not for one single second, regretted your obedience. You know what Romans 8:28 really means. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. It means that choice you've been regretting, God's been redeeming it. That door you closed, he's been building something better behind it. That relationship you released, he's been protecting you from what would have destroyed you. You did the right thing when you chose peace over popularity. You did the right thing when you chose your sanity over their approval. You did the right thing when you chose God's whisper over their shouting. And I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. The very choice that made you feel guilty is the one that made heaven rejoice. The decision that isolated you from people positioned you for God. The moment you thought you failed is the moment you finally succeeded at the only thing that matters: obedience. So stop carrying what God already forgave. Stop questioning what heaven already celebrated. Stop apologizing for a choice that saved your life. Write, "Thank you, Lord," in the comments if you feel peace coming over you right now. Because what I'm about to show you next will prove that the favor you've been praying for didn't just arrive. It's been surrounding you since the moment you made that choice. And the evidence is closer than you think. Now let me tell you something that's going to shatter the way you've been looking at every closed door in your life. That relationship that ended, that job you didn't get, that house deal that fell through at the last second, that opportunity everyone said was yours until suddenly it wasn't. You've been calling it loss. Heaven calls it rescue. Every door that slammed in your face was God's hand catching you before you walked into something that would have destroyed you, not hurt you, not delayed you, destroyed you, and the Father loved you too much to let you enter that room. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You're 70 years old, and you're still processing why that marriage ended 40 years ago. You're 83, and you still wonder why your children moved across the country. You're 68, and you can't stop replaying why that business partnership dissolved just when success seemed certain. But what if I told you that what you've been mourning as your greatest failure was actually God's greatest mercy? 2 Samuel chapter 12. David wanted to build God a temple. It was a beautiful desire, a holy ambition, the kind of dream that seemed perfectly aligned with heaven's heart. But God said, no. Not just not yet. No. And for years, David must have wondered why the God he loved so deeply would reject the very thing he wanted to give him. But here's what David didn't know. God wasn't rejecting David's gift. God was protecting David's legacy. Because that temple wasn't meant for David to build, it was meant for Solomon to build. And if David had built it, the glory wouldn't have transferred to the next generation the way God intended. The no wasn't punishment, it was positioning. You see, beloved, we think we know what we need. We think we can see the whole picture. But we're looking at life through a straw, while God is looking at it from the throne. What looks like a closed door to you is actually a shield between you and devastation you cannot see. That man you wanted to marry. God saw the affair that would have happened in year 7. That business opportunity. The Father knew about the lawsuit that was coming in 18 months. That church position you applied for. Heaven recognized the spiritual abuse that was already festering behind those walls. You thought God was keeping something from you. He was keeping something from destroying you. But here's where your faith gets tested. Here's where the enemy whispers his most vicious lie. He says, if God really loved you, he would have given you what you prayed for. And you've believed that lie for decades, haven't you? You've been walking around feeling like a second-class citizen in the kingdom because your prayers got denied while others seem to get everything they asked for. Stop right there, look at me. Some blessings look like silence, some miracles look like nothing happening. The miracle isn't always the Red Sea parting. Sometimes the miracle is the Red Sea never needing to part because God rerouted your entire path before you ever reached the water. The blessing isn't always the phone ringing with good news. Sometimes the blessing is the phone not ringing because that call would have led you somewhere dark. You wanted the door to open. God knew the room was on fire. Think about Joseph. Genesis 39. Potiphar's wife wanted him. Day after day, she pursued him, tempted him, offered him everything a young slave could dream of: power, pleasure, protection. One word from Joseph, and his entire situation could have changed. But he said no. He ran. And what happened? He got thrown in prison. Prison for doing the right thing. And for years, Joseph must have wondered if obedience was worth it. He must have questioned whether saying no to sin was the biggest mistake of his life. Because from a prison cell, it's hard to see God's favor. From behind bars, it's nearly impossible to believe you did the right thing. But here's what Joseph couldn't see from that cell. That prison was protecting him from Potiphar's eventual rage. That isolation was preparing him for Pharaoh's palace. That closed door, that rejection, that false accusation, that season of being buried alive was actually God's shield wrapped around his destiny. The very thing that looked like your destruction was your deliverance in disguise. Now I need you to do something that might hurt. I need you to think about that one thing, that one closed door that's been haunting you for years, the thing you still cry about when you're alone, the thing that still makes you question God's goodness. Got it? Good. Now, hear the voice of heaven speaking directly to your wounded heart. I didn't close that door because I don't love you. I closed it because I do. And one day, when you stand before me and I show you what was on the other side, you will fall to your knees and thank me for loving you enough to tell you no. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. You've been trying to understand with your head what can only be received in your heart. You've been demanding explanations when God is asking for trust. You've been looking backward at closed doors when heaven is saying, turn around, look forward. I've been building something better this entire time. But there is one more thing God wants you to know. One more piece of this divine puzzle that will make everything, and I mean everything, finally make sense. Comment I trust God if you feel peace beginning to rise inside you. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly what heaven has been protecting you for. Now listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shatter every lie you've been believing about what happened after you obeyed God. You did the right thing. You walked away. You said no. You drew the boundary. You left the place that was killing you slowly. And then what happened? All hell broke loose. The money got tighter. The loneliness got heavier. Your own family turned cold. That pain in your body that the doctors can't explain suddenly appeared. You couldn't sleep. You couldn't pray without crying. And somewhere deep inside, a voice started whispering, "See, you made a mistake. God is punishing you. You should have stayed." But chosen one, that voice is a liar. What if I told you that the attack that came after your obedience was not defeat? What if I told you it wasn't God's punishment or abandonment? What if the chaos, the warfare, the sudden storm that hit you the moment you stepped into obedience was actually evidence of your promotion? You see, the enemy doesn't waste ammunition on people going nowhere. Hell doesn't mobilize its forces against someone who's retreating. Demons don't call emergency meetings about believers who are stuck. But you? The moment you obeyed God and moved, every principality in the second heaven went on high alert. Because they saw something you couldn't see yet. They saw your future. They saw your next level. They saw the anointing that was about to be released over your life. And they panicked. Genesis 50:20 says it plainly. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Joseph, speaking to the brothers who threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery, and left him for dead. But Joseph understood something that will change your life tonight. What came against you is now working for you. That pit wasn't your grave, beloved. It was your portal. That prison cell wasn't your punishment. It was your preparation. That betrayal wasn't your end. It was your beginning. This is Joseph rising from the pit after 13 years of hell, walking into Pharaoh's palace as the second most powerful man in Egypt. This is David walking past Goliath while seasoned soldiers trembled in their tents, carrying nothing but a sling and 5 smooth stones. This is Esther stepping into the throne room uninvited, risking her life to save a nation. This is you stepping into the thing hell tried to stop. You think the warfare means you're losing? No. The warfare means you're advancing. You think the attack means God's angry? No. The attack means the enemy is terrified. You think the resistance means you made a mistake? No. The resistance means you're finally on the right path. Think about it. When did Pharaoh chase Israel? After they left Egypt. When did Goliath show up? When David arrived at the battlefield. When did the storm hit the disciples? When they were in the boat Jesus told them to get into. The attack came because the assignment was real. And right now, at 73 years old, at 68, at 81, you thought your fighting days were over. You thought you'd coast into your final years in peace and quiet. But God said, not yet. I need you sharp. I need you awake. I need you battle-tested one more time, because what I'm about to release through you requires someone who knows how to stand when hell is standing against them. Every closed door that confused you was God protecting you from a trap. Every person who walked away was God removing a weight you couldn't carry into your next season. Every financial pressure was teaching you to depend on Him alone. Every sleepless night was a prayer meeting you didn't know you were attending. Romans 8:28 isn't just a pretty verse on a coffee mug. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. All things, not some things, not the easy things. All things. that divorce, that diagnosis, that betrayal, that loss. God is working it. Right now, this moment, while you're listening to my voice, heaven is converting your pain into power. The attack that was meant to destroy you is being repackaged as your testimony. The wound that was meant to kill you is becoming your ministry. The pit that was meant to bury you is being transformed into your platform. You're rising. Can you feel it? Something in your spirit that's been dormant for years is waking up. Something that's been buried under disappointment is breaking through the soil. You're not going back. You're not going under. You're rising. You're rising above the guilt that said you were wrong. You're rising above the shame that said you failed. You're rising above the lies that said your best days are behind you. You're rising into the favor that's been waiting for you to be strong enough to carry it. This is your Joseph moment. This is your David moment. This is your Esther moment. What was meant to harm you is now working for you. Chosen ones, type "I'm rising" to seal this moment. Declare it. Speak it into existence. Because what I'm about to show you next will prove that the favor surrounding you right now is so thick, so powerful, so undeniable that even your enemies are about to become your footstool. You know what's breaking my heart right now? It's the silence you've been sitting in. The deafening, suffocating silence that makes you wonder if God heard you at all. You did what He asked. You obeyed when it cost you everything. You walked away. You let go. You surrendered. And now, nothing. Just quiet. Just waiting. Just you and your doubts at 3 a.m. wondering if you got it all wrong. Let me tell you something that's going to shift everything you think you know about God's timing. You think nothing is changing because everything is quiet. But heaven works quietly, like dawn. Think about that for a moment. Dawn doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It doesn't knock on your door and say, "Good morning, I've arrived." No. Dawn creeps in slowly, silently, inevitably. One moment it's pitch black and you can't see your own hand in front of your face. The next moment, without you even noticing the exact second it happened, the sky is ablaze with light. That's how God is moving in your life right now. While you've been sitting in what feels like midnight, God has been orchestrating a dawn so magnificent that when it breaks, you'll fall to your knees in wonder that you ever doubted. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. The darkest hour really is just before sunrise. And beloved, you are in that hour right now. Listen to what David wrote in Psalm 30:5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Not might come, not could come. Joy comes in the morning. It's not a possibility, it's a promise. It's a certainty. It's already on its way to your address. But I need to speak directly to what's really haunting you. You're not just wondering if something good is coming. You're wondering if you've run out of time. You're 73 years old and you're thinking, how much mourning do I have left? You're 81 and you're whispering to yourself, maybe my season passed me by. You're 67 and you're calculating how many years you might have left, and the math feels cruel. Stop right there. God's favor doesn't operate on your calendar. It operates on His kairos, His perfect, appointed time. And I'm here to tell you that right now, in this very moment, heaven is making moves you cannot feel yet. Your favor is not loud. It is steady. It is sure. It is unfolding behind the scenes while you're focused on what you can see, which is nothing. But that's exactly where faith lives, isn't it? You want evidence? Here's your evidence. You're still breathing. You're still here. You survived the very thing that was designed to take you out. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's God saying, I'm not finished with you yet. But let me tell you what's really happening in the invisible realm while you're sitting in visible silence. Angels are moving on your behalf. Doors you didn't even know existed are being unlocked. People you've never met are being positioned to cross your path. Resources you stopped praying for are being redirected toward you. Breakthrough you gave up hoping for is building momentum like a freight train barreling toward your station. And you can't feel any of it because God is protecting you from premature celebration. He's shielding you from getting your hopes up before the harvest is ready. He's keeping you in the quiet, so when the manifestation comes, you'll know without a shadow of doubt that it was Him and only Him. Think about Joseph. 13 years of silence, 13 years in a pit, in slavery, in prison, wondering if the dreams God gave him as a teenager were just the fantasies of a naive boy. 13 years of nothing. But Genesis 41-14 says, "Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon." Did you catch that word? Quickly. After 13 years of slow torture, God moved quickly. One day Joseph was forgotten in a cell. The next day he was second in command of the most powerful nation on earth. One sunset he was a prisoner. One sunrise he was a prime minister. That's how your breakthrough is coming. Not slowly, not gradually, quickly, suddenly, undeniably. But here's what I need you to understand about this season you're in right now. This quiet isn't empty. This waiting isn't wasted. God is doing something in you while He's doing something for you. He's building character that can handle the blessing. He's developing wisdom that can steward the favor. He's forging faith that can sustain the elevation. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Premature blessing can become a curse if you're not ready for it. God loves you too much to give you something that would destroy you. So He makes you wait not to torture you, but to prepare you. And I promise you this, there is a sign coming. A confirmation so clear, so undeniable, so perfectly timed, that when it appears, you'll know God was working all along. You'll look back at this season of silence, and you'll weep not from pain anymore, but from gratitude that He loved you enough to do it right, instead of doing it fast. Isaiah 30:18 declares, "Therefore the Lord waits to be gracious to you, and therefore He exalts Himself to show mercy to you." God is waiting, not because He forgot, but because He's positioning everything perfectly. Your favor is surrounding you right now. You just can't see it yet. But blindness is not the same as absence. Comment, "I'm ready for my sign," if this stirs your spirit. Because what I'm about to show you next will reveal exactly what that sign looks like and how to recognize it when it appears in your life. Now, listen to me very carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shift the way you see the next 72 hours of your life. Something is coming. Something small, something you might dismiss if I don't prepare you right now. But when it happens, and it will happen, you're going to know that heaven just sent you a personal message with your name written on it. In the next few days, something seemingly ordinary will occur that will feel strangely, undeniably divine. I'm not talking about angels appearing in your kitchen or voices from the sky. God doesn't need theatrics to get your attention anymore. You've walked with Him long enough. You've been through enough fire. You've seen enough to recognize His fingerprints on the small things. And that's exactly how He's going to confirm what I'm telling you right now. It might be a phone call from someone you haven't heard from in 15 years, out of nowhere. And when you see their name on that screen, something in your chest will tighten because you'll know this isn't coincidence. This is coordination. It might be financial ease where you expected absolute struggle. That bill you've been dreading, that expense you've been calculating and recalculating at 2 a.m., suddenly, inexplicably, there's provision, not from any source you planned for, not from any strategy you executed. It just appears, and you'll stand there holding that check or staring at that bank balance, and tears will come because you'll remember this exact moment when I told you it was coming. It might be peace, sudden, unexplainable peace about the very situation that's been tormenting you for months. You'll wake up one morning, and that heavy stone that's been sitting on your chest, that anxiety that's followed you from room to room, that fear that's whispered in your ear every single night, it'll be gone. Not because circumstances changed, not because you figured anything out, but because heaven reached down and lifted it off you like a father removing a burden from his child's shoulders. The sign won't be dramatic, beloved, but it will be unmistakable. You know why God works this way with his chosen ones at your stage of life? Because you don't need spectacle anymore. You need confirmation. You don't need burning bushes. You need gentle whispers that say, "Yes, child, I saw what you did. I know what it cost you. And I'm telling you, you did the right thing." Look at Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. After the most dramatic display of God's power on Mount Carmel, fire falling from heaven, destroying the prophets of Baal, rain ending a 3-year drought, Elijah ran for his life. And where did God meet him? Not in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the mighty wind, but in the still, small voice. Because mature faith doesn't need the spectacular. Mature faith recognizes the sacred in the subtle. And you, dear one, you have mature faith. 70, 80, 90 years of watching God show up in unexpected ways has trained your spirit to recognize his movement even when the world around you sees nothing special happening. But here's what I need you to understand, and this is urgent. If you're not watching for it, you'll miss it. If you're still drowning in guilt about that choice you made, if you're still replaying what everyone said about you, if you're still listening to the enemy's accusations, you'll be so distracted that when God sends your sign, it'll pass right by you like a whisper in a hurricane. Satan knows this. That's why he's been keeping you in such torment. That's why the condemnation has been so loud. That's why every time you start to feel peace, another voice rises up screaming that you failed, you quit, you gave up too easily. Because if he can keep you looking backward in shame, you won't see forward when heaven confirms your obedience. Think about Lot's wife. Genesis 19. God told them to flee Sodom. Don't look back, just keep moving towards safety. But she couldn't resist. She looked back at what she was leaving, and she became a pillar of salt, frozen in that moment of doubt, unable to move forward into the deliverance God had prepared. Don't let that be your story. The sign is coming. But you have to turn your face forward to see it. You have to stop rehearsing what you left behind and start expecting what God is sending ahead. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there are people positioning themselves to cross your path. There are resources being redirected toward your life. There are divine appointments being scheduled on heaven's calendar with your name written in gold. But if you're still staring at the ruins of what you walked away from, you're going to miss the construction of what God is building for you. Job chapter 42 tells us that God restored Job's fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. But that didn't happen while Job was still sitting in the ashes, cursing the day he was born. It happened after he shifted his focus from his pain to God's purpose. Your shift is here. Your sign is coming. Your confirmation is on its way. Chosen ones, write "I will watch for it" in the comments right now to activate your spiritual awareness. This isn't just words, this is your declaration that you're positioning yourself to receive what heaven is sending. Because what happens next is going to require you to be fully present, fully aware, and fully convinced that the choice you made wasn't the end of your story, it was the beginning of your greatest chapter. Something is changing right now. Can you feel it? The atmosphere around your life, the spiritual pressure that's been crushing your chest for months, maybe years, it's shifting right now, this very second. And I need you to pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you will explain why things suddenly feel different. You're going to notice the air feels lighter. You'll wake up tomorrow morning and realize you breathed easier through the night. No nightmares. No 3 a.m. panic attacks. No waking up with that familiar weight sitting on your chest like a tombstone. Something lifted while you were sleeping, and you can't explain it with logic or medicine or therapy. That's favor repositioning itself around your life. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. When you made that decision, the one everyone criticized, the one that made you look weak, the one that still makes you second-guess yourself, you didn't just make a choice. You triggered a divine shift in the realm of the Spirit. Heaven saw your obedience, and heaven responded with movement. But here's what most people don't understand about favor. Favor doesn't arrive with announcements. It doesn't knock on your door with a brass band and a billboard. Favor comes first as a shift in atmosphere, a change in spiritual climate, a rearrangement of invisible forces that have been working against you. You'll sense a pull, not toward anything specific at first, just a pull, like your spirit knows something your mind hasn't figured out yet. Like there's a magnet somewhere in the future drawing you forward, and for the first time in years, you're not fighting it. You're not exhausted by it, you're curious about it. You'll experience a peace that makes absolutely no sense. Your bank account hasn't changed, your relationships haven't been restored, your health problems haven't disappeared, but something inside you settled. Something that's been rattling around in your soul like loose change finally found its place. And you'll hear God clearer. Oh, beloved, this is when it gets supernatural. You'll be driving down the FDR Drive, stuck in traffic like you've been 1,000 times before, and suddenly you'll hear him. Not audibly, but clearer than if he was sitting in your passenger seat. A knowing, a certainty, a whisper that cuts through every doubt you've been carrying. Proverbs 16:7 says, "When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him." Do you understand what that means? When you did the right thing, when you obeyed, even though it hurt, even though it cost you, even though no one understood you pleased the Lord. And now, heaven is systematically dismantling every opposition that has stood between you and your destiny. That person who's been blocking your progress, watch what happens. That situation that seemed permanent, watch how it suddenly shifts. That door that's been locked for decades, listen for the sound of tumblers turning. But I need you to understand something that's going to shock you. This shift in atmosphere, it's not the blessing. It's the announcement that the blessing is coming. It's the trumpet sound before the king enters the room. It's the rumbling before the earthquake. It's the lightning before the thunder. You're standing at the edge of the moment where everything you've been praying for becomes visible. Think about Abraham. For 25 years, he waited for Isaac. 25 years of Sarah's barren womb. 25 years of whispers from neighbors. 25 years of his own doubt, screaming in the middle of the night. But do you know what happened right before Isaac was born? Genesis 21:1 says, "And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said." The Lord visited. There was a divine shift, a supernatural repositioning. And 9 months later, laughter was born in a 90-year-old womb. You're in your visitation season right now. You will know, and I mean you will, know in the deepest part of your being, this is the moment God begins to repay you, not with crumbs, not with leftovers, not with the bare minimum to keep you alive. God is about to repay you with compound interest for every tear you've cried, every prayer you've prayed, every night you've endured, every person you've forgiven, every boundary you've set, every door you've closed in obedience. Job understood this. After everything was stripped away, his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation, Job sat in ashes for months. But Job 42:10 records the moment everything changed. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Double portion. Divine repayment. That's what's coming for you. But here's the mystery that will blow your mind. The shift in atmosphere isn't just about you receiving. It's about you becoming. Because after this moment, after favor becomes visible, after the air clears, after peace settles, comes the unveiling of what heaven has been preparing you for. See, God didn't just save you from that toxic situation. He saved you for something. Someone out there is waiting for the version of you that only exists because you did the right thing. A generation is positioned to be blessed because you were brave enough to obey when obedience looked like loss. The atmosphere is shifting because you're not the same person who walked away. You're not the same soul who set that boundary. You're not the same spirit who said no when yes would have been easier. You've been transformed in the fire of that decision, and now heaven is rearranging everything around you to match who you've become. So here's my question for you. Can you feel it? Can you sense the pull, the peace, the clarity? Can you hear him clearer than you've heard him in years? Because if you can, then get ready. What's about to be unveiled will make every moment of obedience worth it. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to hold on to 3 truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, the decision you made, the one that still haunts you at 3 a.m., the one that made others question you. Heaven called it obedience, not weakness, not failure, obedience. And obedience always triggers favor, even when it hurts first. Second, the shift in atmosphere you're feeling right now is real. It's not your imagination. It's not wishful thinking. God is repositioning everything around your life because you did the right thing. The air is lighter because heaven is moving on your behalf. Third, what's coming next will make every tear worth it. Every sleepless night, every criticism, every moment you wondered if you heard God correctly. You did. And He's about to prove it. But I need you to know something deeper than knowledge. You are not walking this path alone. The same God who saw what you did in secret is still working in your life right now. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't moved on. He's orchestrating behind the scenes, and what He's preparing will leave you speechless. And beyond God's presence, you have this community, right here. Thousands of believers who understand your struggle, who've made the same hard choices, who know what it costs to obey when obedience looks like loss. We are here. We see you. We will pray with you. So let me ask you this. Now that you know heaven validated your choice, now that you understand the shift in atmosphere is real, what will you do with this confirmation? Will you keep second-guessing yourself, or will you finally walk in the peace of knowing you heard God correctly? Before you go, let me pray over you. Close your eyes, let these words wash over your weary soul. Father, I place my hand on the shoulder of every person hearing this right now. You see their hearts. You know their struggles. You witnessed the moment they chose obedience over comfort, and you smiled. Lord, release your favor over their lives right now. Open doors no man can shut. Provide in ways that defy logic. Heal what medicine cannot touch. Restore what time has stolen. Surround them with your presence so tangibly that doubt has no place to land. Give them peace that transcends understanding, strength for today, and hope for tomorrow. Let them feel you in this moment, not as a distant God, but as a Father who sees, who cares, who rewards those who diligently seek Him. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart today. Ask for prayer. This community will surround you with intercession. And please, share this message with someone who needs to hear that they did the right thing. Someone who's drowning in guilt and needs this confirmation from heaven. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Your time is sacred, and you gave it to seek God's voice. If this message touched your soul, subscribe to this channel and join thousands of chosen ones who gather here weekly to be encouraged, equipped, and reminded of who they really are. You did the right thing, beloved, and heaven is about to prove it. Go in peace, walk in favor, live in the certainty that God's hand is upon your life.